Hello guys and welcome to the UKLC. My name is Scoundrel, joined by Dan, Orcs, Harrison, and we are jumping into week 2, day 2 of our UKLC format. Dan, we had an exciting day yesterday.
Yep.
How are you feeling about today?
Good. There were a couple of upsets, some teams that I think people didn't expect to see get to the second day. Some teams who lost all their first game last week, so going to be interesting to see how they perform.
Absolutely. If you want to join in the conversation, tell us who you think is going to win, your MVP, unsung hero, all that kind of stuff, go to the Twitter at LVPUK or use the hashtag UKLC. If you tweet myself, Dan or Jake, we will be responding to you on air with whatever we see fit, so be warned. We have also got a YouTube channel, LVPUK, where you can catch all of the delightful VODs. If you want to see Dan belly dance, there are VODs for that on the LVPUK YouTube channel. You can go back to Forge of Champions. I'm pretty sure that was a skit during Forge of Champions at one point. Go dig through the archives, check out the UK scene at its finest.
And link it to me when you find it.
Exactly. Link it to me in DMs. Thank you. Right, we have another member. Usually I'm not here. Usually I get brought in on a wheelbarrow and the third person segment over on the side. But this time it's Jake Hiprain Matthews. Jake, how are you, mate?
Well, you know, resident third wheel is standing by ready to break down everything here at the UKLC. I'm very excited to get into today's games because, like we said at the beginning of the show, two teams who maybe we didn't expect to get all the way up have managed to climb up into this semi-finals. Now, for any of you guys who are a little bit confused on the way that the UKLC and the tower format runs, I'll give you one quick breakdown of how it goes. So, yesterday we started with the round of 8. As you can see, Diabolus, Darkspawn, Phelan and Fnatic were able to make their way out. Then we had a bracket draw at the end of yesterday's show, and then Diabolus versus Phelan were drawn, and Fnatic Rising versus Darkspawn were drawn. The winner of these games will then go up against each other in the final, who then will get a chance to take on XL, who are our tower champions. If XL are able to beat out and defend their spot at the top of the tower coming out of today, at the beginning of next week, they then once again have to take on the same team to see if they can remain as the top of the tower going into week 3. But if a team is able to dethrone XL, they will then join back down with the rest of the riffraff here in the round of 8 going into next week. Now, yesterday we had a lot of players getting put forward for MVP. 4 players were the ones who walked away as the MVP coming out of yesterday's show. But we asked you guys on Twitter, who was your unsung hero? And everybody all agreed that Flirt was the unsung hero coming out of yesterday's games. His Draven was really, really dirty, and maybe we'll see him pull it out versus Fnatic Rising in our second game of the day. Now, if there's anyone coming out of today who didn't get an MVP, make sure you use that hashtag UKLC to let us know who you think is going to be your unsung hero. The unsung hero will then get put up in a 4-way vote on the Twitter at the end of the show, and then we will put up the unsung hero on there coming out of today's show. But I think it's time we break it down a little bit further and we pass it over to our 2 casters for our first game of the day.
Thank you very much, Jake. Yes, the unsung hero yesterday. Unbelievable performance, great KDA, and again, I think that should have been maybe Mystique's last week if we had that format. Maybe he should have even been an MVP. We kind of slipped that one under last year.
Hopefully we'll get to see him again tonight, and he may be able to find his opportunity to get that MVP award.
Absolutely, we will see XL eventually in the 4th game of the night at the top of the tower. Who will face them? Well, we have yet to find out. The first game on the cards is going to be Diabolus taking on Phelan, which you can see right behind us. We're going to take a quick look at the rosters, check if anything has been changed or anything stays the same. I envision everything will be the same from yesterday, but just to make sure, let's have a look at the Diabolus roster, bringing it up. And I think Yusa is the standout guy from yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, he got a quadra kill on Ezreal, huge plays, and I think he's really stepping up. He is a fairly new player, especially compared to Hado, who's been around almost forever. So I think the fact that he's shown a lot of confidence in being able to carry, big signs for him to be popping off and stepping up this competition.
Hado has been playing UK scene since I was a twinkle in my dad's eye. That's how long Hado has been playing UK scene. Right, they're going on to Phelan. We'll have a look at their roster and we can run through who maybe stood out with the Phelan game, which arguably was a little bit of an upset. If you take a look, I think Aragon was great on that Yorick split push, but ADM really stole the show with his Lissandra.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was good play from the whole team. I think ADM did a lot of good engages and moves on the map to get them ahead. They were permanently ahead in kills. However, the one issue I sort of had with them is even though they were really far ahead in terms of kills and gold, they were behind in objectives in terms of towers and even losing inhibitors at some point.
Yeah.
So, although it was a great performance, props to them for getting to this point, there are some sort of things I'm a bit concerned about. But if they patch them up for today, they could really bring a big fight to Diabolus.
Do you think, going into this, after everything that we've seen from the UKLC, that Diabolus are absolute favourites? Or do you think, again, maybe there is more of a balanced matchup here?
I don't think you can say absolute. I think I would put them ahead, but I think Phelan can definitely bring it to them. And again, they had a good performance yesterday, but if they patch up some of those more macro issues where they didn't assign people in the right areas, they would be a really strong roster because every player was performing well yesterday.
Yeah, I think so, and I really big props to their coach and their draft. Apparently on Twitter, it wasn't just a single person involved in that draft. 4 or plus members went in, the analysts, everybody got that draft to where it was.
They had a full room of people.
Yeah, just
like you know, when there's
first
a
pick
NASA
Yorick,
launch,
first pick Yorick.
When there's a NASA launch and they have like 30 people in front of screens, they had that entire team slaving away to get the ideal draft.
Got like Matrix notes coming down. It goes, okay, we're reading the notes. We're going to go Yorick first pick. Okay, we're going to be analyzing. I'm predicting. Yeah, no, I like it. Anyway, we are going to be jumping into draft as soon as we physically can between these two teams. Remember, this is going to be facing for a place in the final of today's UKLC. The winner of that final then goes on to the Tower Challenge match, taking on XL. And they will be facing the winner of Darkspawn and Fnatic Rising. So that'll be our second game of the day, I believe.
Yep.
And the winner of that will take on the winner of this match. So we will have that bracket concluding on our third match of the day, going all the way up to our fourth match of the day, which will be that Tower Challenge match to take on XL, who didn't look absolutely dominant last week.
Yeah, they didn't look flawless.
They had shakiness, and especially versus Fnatic Rising. I mean, it was one throw, really, from Fnatic Rising that threw that game in the bin against XL. So,
but that's how the game can be. I mean, we saw when Braj played yesterday, they had a little bit of a throw with that Baron play, and it's one little play can make the difference. And I think although XL have great playmakers, they didn't show that complete consistency throughout their team play.
We're going into picks and bans, as far as I'm aware, so we'll be jumping straight in as soon as we can. And then we can start to think about this matchup and see where we go, because again, they don't, I think it's Diabolus on blue side this time round, so they're going to have the ability to take that first pick. Aragon might not be able to just go straight in for the Yorick like he was last time. We'll see the bans coming out. Yasuo and Zoe starts things off. What do you envision will be on the ban plate for both of these teams this time round?
I think those are definitely big champions. I think Lucian will likely be on the ban table. Interesting that they actually took away the Sivir. I would definitely say Phelan have to ban Lucian now because, well, actually Lucian's quite good against Sivir, but I think they're definitely pinching the AD carry pool. If Diabolus bans say an Ezreal here, I feel like okay, they're going for the Yorick, so they've known that what Ragan's capable of. It's interesting they go for the Sivir because it's something that we've seen teams have some success with, but we saw Yusa be very aggressive in lane, and to me, Yusa's very much, Sivir's very much we're just going to chill back and farm sort of pick. And it's also interesting that we're seeing this side of Phelan ban that Jax, because we theorized that was more for the counter matchup into Yorick, but they're still banning that out.
Kerberos floating the Master Yi. If you aren't aware, Kerberos plays a lot of Master Yi jungle with the Lulu Master Yi jungle strat that he does a solo queue. No way that he's going to do that here. Interesting that the Jax ban comes through, because I guess that highlights that maybe Aragon looking for a split pusher again, or someone who's going to be a side lane role that doesn't lose to Jax.
Seems really weird to me. I mean, I don't want to criticize drafts, but I would have personally wanted to take away the Lucian because you've just given that over to Yusa. And I understood the Jax last time because they banned that, then picked the Yorick. The Yorick's off the table. And yes, I like the Ezreal Lissandra pickup, but you could have been in a similar situation and denied that Lucian from Yusa.
Yeah, I agree. The Jax, unless they have the things, we have to think that they've got a plan for this Jax ban. I think that's the only way we can look at this from this point forward. I mean, I
guess the consolation is that they might have gone for a trade-off, so they wanted Ezreal, but they're happy to give away the Lucian to Yusa.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the best decision because Lucian allows you to be very aggressive, but they have a plan and they're trying to commit to it.
I feel like this might be what they've been baiting, though, the Sion pick, because you see the Urgot ban.
Yeah.
So obviously we're in this meta on 9.3 where it's like Urgot Sion top lane, Urgot Sion top lane. So you ban the Urgot and then you don't ban the Sion afterwards. It makes Sion the immediate obvious choice for that top lane for Kerberos specifically. So you can only envision that Phelan have got a plan for Aragon into Sion here, something that's supposed to be integral to their strategy, because otherwise, well, they haven't picked it. This is what mind-blowing me right now. They haven't picked it on their first rotation. They're going to give Soft that Xin Zhao jungle, which I think he's been really good on. I think that's a great pick for Soft. But now they've got to go through another ban phase where they don't have a top laner getting picked, which is what is making my head hurt just a little bit.
To me, what was interesting is that they picked up the Lissandra, which in theory is a flex, but we're seeing it way more mid than we are top lane, and ADM's been really great on it. But on red side, you're guaranteed to have a counter pick mid. So they could have left counter pick mid to later on, and they already knew what the enemy top laner was, so they could have counter-picked that.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, in theory, you can flex the Sion, you can flex the Lissandra, but in practice, we have almost exclusively seen that Sion top lane and that Lissandra mid lane just on this current patch. So it just seems like some weird decisions. I don't think the picks that Phelan have got are bad by any means. I just think they could have ordered it a bit better.
Well, I think that's part of draft strategy. I actually think it's fine to criticize Phelan here based on our opinions.
Yeah.
Because you've now thrown away red side advantage. You've banned things that probably would have been fine into Sion. You haven't picked your matchup into Sion. You've given away your, well, arguably given away your mid lane pick. Again, we've said that could be top.
And one of the big split pushes that I've seen rise in priority is this Aurelia.
Yeah.
Because they nerfed to burst damage, they nerfed to magic resistance, but she actually does so well into the Sion matchup because you stack up damage with your passive, you can very easily start to chunk them out, and also the mobility means you can't do very much. So for me, if you wanted to commit to that split push style for Maragon, you pick the Aurelia third pick.
Yeah. Okay,
And
of course.
It's now banned away, so maybe they have something else up their sleeves that we're not aware of, but for now, we just got to wait and see. And they're actually going to leave that last pick.
They've got to be threatening a flex Lissandra here. That's the only way that this draft, in my mind, makes sense is they've got to be threatening a flex Lissandra. But ADM played Lissandra so well, and I think it's very unlikely.
In theory, if I ignored the names and I ignored what has gone on so far in the UK scene, I'd say yeah, but it's just I don't see.
Still a strong-ish jungler going straight back to the Gragas.
I was actually speaking to Taxa earlier about some jungle matchups, the jungler for XL, and he said playing Xin Zhao playing Gragas into Xin Zhao when the enemy mid laner has priority from roam is a really bad time. So it's interesting that he decided to pick this matchup and put himself into it, because I think in the early levels you really don't want to tango with the Xin Zhao as the Gragas, especially since you no longer go that tanky Gragas build, you end up very squishy. You
go for a sort of AP heavy. Now we're going to be giving away exactly what Phelan are planning here. You feel like this has to be just a long, calculated pick into the top lane, and it's the Poppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you were going to do that, I feel like you could have done that much earlier. Unless it's like it's stopping a really integral part of the composition, which I can't really say.
The issue I have is that you look what Diabolus have got. So they have Lucian Braum bot lane, great bot lane. Lucian is a tier 180 carry.
Yep.
He gets banned frequently in the first few bans. Cassiopeia is a really strong pick in terms of scaling.
And it's a good pick for Krogson as well.
And you have to see it get banned away. Gragas is a fine jungler, nothing too much to talk about. But then Sion as well.
Tier 1 top laner.
Tier 1 top laner with the Urgot off the table. I really have questions because I feel like Phelan are going to struggle in terms of scaling, but they're also going to struggle in terms of the bot lane pressure because I think Lucian Braum should come out ahead. So for me, Soft and ADM really have to make something happen in the early game, or at least in the mid game, or I don't see where they get the traction with their team comp.
Yeah, I think as you can see, it's an awkward position for Phelan now, going remotely tanky. But even if just the Sion is on the front line, no one on their team kills Sion.
Yeah.
No one. Not even, like Lissandra, low damage, burst orientated, meant to deal with squishies. Ezreal, damage is bursty, only good versus squishies, very difficult to chunk through a front line. It's not like a consistent damage out for AD carry.
It's not like if it was just a Sion isolated, you could theorize that maybe they can look for flanks, but there's also the Braum and the Gragas. And yes, the Gragas isn't going to be build the tankiest, but there's so much disruption, you're really going to struggle to get on top of that Cassiopeia, who will just pump out so much damage. And I think that's fine to have a composition that doesn't do as well late, but I think you need clear win conditions.
You need to win lanes. If you're not going to do well late, you need to win lanes.
Giving away the Lucian bot lane, especially when Yusa has been so dominant yesterday, is a risky decision in my opinion, but it's their draft, they've committed to it, and if they manage to execute, then props to them.
They lose bot lane though. You lose to Lucian Braum.
Yeah.
You lose that lane. Ezreal's never going to compete in trading. Let's take a look. We're going to jump into game now. Diabolus versus Phelan. We'll talk a little bit more about this because it is a fairly perplexing situation. I do want to probe you, Dan, on where you think Phelan... Yes. I meant verbally, about where you are going to get those win conditions from in terms of Phelan. What can they do to actually run away with this game? Is it a case of ADM has to be that roaming monster that he was previously?
Well, I think that's it, is that the advantage Phelan have drafted with this composition is that they have a stronger mid-jungle. Xin Zhao and Lissandra are really strong together, a lot of CC, a lot of early damage. And I think that is where the advantage comes on from Phelan. So if Soft and ADM can work together to spread advantages, then they definitely have win conditions. If Ezreal spikes in the mid game in a strong way, then it's going to be great. My concern is just Yusa on this Lucian is not going to make it easy for a Chu to get anywhere near the point he's relevant.
The way I see Phelan coming out ahead on this, because I think I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head. There are win conditions for Phelan. It's not like we've kind of ragged on the draft a little bit, but it's not like it's the worst draft in the world. There are win conditions here. This, to me, feels very much like we need 2 items on Ezreal by 20 minutes. We take first Baron and we win. That to me feels like what this composition is designed to do. Has to win mid-game, has to get first Baron, can't give much more time than that over to the Diabolus composition.
Yeah, and I mean, there are still going to be situations where if they get a massive goal lead, they can continue things later on. It's not like their comp is useless in the late game. I just think if they go into the late game or the mid game really even, they're going to struggle. But again, Lissandra Xin Zhao is a really strong mid-jungle combo. I want to see Soft and ADM being aggressive, and if they can, there's definitely life to this composition.
Yeah, and I think Soft and ADM are the ones that we're going to keep our eyes on, because I do fully agree with you. The problem is that also you can't really let Hado and Yusa run away with this bot lane, because I think Ezreal is going to be an integral part of your damage dealing in the mid game. If Ezreal falls too far behind and you give too much an advantage over to Yusa and to Hado, I feel like a Chu and Snuggly are going to have a difficult time providing the damage output that they need to in the mid game team fights. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's the issue is that when you have champions like Gragas and like the Scion who are going to be looking to engage on you, Ezreal's never going to be able to get that much damage off because you're constantly kiting away and you're just going to hit this front lane. We are seeing engage in the bot lane.
Oh, Yusa goes so low. Snuggly gets stunned up here. Hado still pushing forward. Hado gets the ignite down. This is going to be one more hit. He gets flayed away. First blood goes over to Hado.
Yeah, and just a bit of an overcommit from Snuggly there. Saw the blood, tried to take down Yusa, but miscalculated the damage and ends up flashing forwards on that squishy Thresh. And you know, we talked about how Yusa and Hado would get advantage in this lane, and a Chu and Snuggly would bring it to them, but just a bit of an overcommit is going to turn it around in the favor of the Diabolus bot lane, and that's not a good look going further on.
No, I mean, the kill did go to Hado, thankfully. If Yusa had picked that up and picked up an early item spike in lane, that might have been rough for Chu and Snuggly. But regardless, it's now XP denial from Snuggly. You're also going to get that shove now more relentlessly into a Chu and Snuggly in the bot lane. They might be able to deny more CS. This is not a good start, like you said.
And the thing is, crucially, it gives good back timing for Lucian. Lucian can recall at any point, because Blade of the Ruined King has so many small components, you can basically pick up anything whenever you recall.
Yep.
The issue with Ezreal is if you recall early...
Before you get tier, especially.
I mean, but even if you get tier, if he comes back to lane with a tier against double longsword, that's not a good situation to be in. So a lot of Ezreals try to prioritize that Sheen first, because that will give him the trading power.
Yep.
But there is no way he's going to be able to recall and get that.
No.
And, I mean, if he waits a bit longer, yes, he'll get the tier, but then he's just committed to a farming lane, which sort of concedes things over to Yusa and Hado.
All right, so we've kind of talked to death about Phelan. We know that ADM and Soft are going to be integral here in terms of guiding their win conditions throughout the mid-game. When we look at Diabolus, where are we looking for them? We haven't really touched on it much enough about where Diabolus are going to get their win from.
I mean, I think the bot lane. The bot lane has so much potential to apply pressure. I think you have the Gragas with Predator who can really easily gank that long lane, especially against a flashless Thresh. And then in the later stages, the Scion Cassiopeia are such a strong late game combo. I just want to see Monkeys facilitate Yusa.
Monkeys gets that Ghost Portal down, and he's looking to just track Soft, and will do with a ward there. That's nice ward placement from Monkeys. He's got a clean idea as to where he is.
He's Predator in.
Oh, he's Predator in onto ADM here.
Oh, the grounding is huge.
Oh, that's massive. ADM's just dead. I was unsure that he was going to go down. That's why I was holding my breath for just a second. I was thinking, surely he's going to be able to get out with his E, but doesn't look like he was able to do so. And actually, this is going really wrong for Phelan just from the outset.
I mean, we said that the mid-jungle from Phelan needed to come out ahead, but it's a really good move from Monkeys. He is aware of where Soft was, and then a bit of disrespect from ADM.
Massive disrespect from ADM.
I mean, you knew that Monkeys was there because he placed the ward over the wall. You absolutely knew he was coming around, and I think he just felt overconfident because of his claw, but he didn't respect the fact that Cassiopeia has the strongest ability in the game, that Miasma.
Miasma is pretty broken, and yeah, I think that is huge. If I'd seen a Gragas ward my blue buff on that banana brush, I would have just backed off to my turret. Like, especially Predator Gragas, you know he's had time to back and get Predator by now. Soft sitting on a ward, he's very aware of where he is. They're going to get the control ward down, but I think that ward over the wall for Yusa and Hado is going to keep them very safe.
Yeah, and it's good moves for Monkeys, because again, this guy is not the most aggressive, kill-thirsty jungler, which might seem weird considering he's got one of the kills on the team. But he plays for his team, and that's what he needs to do in this composition, because he's not going to be able to massively pressure the Xin Zhao. He doesn't win the 1v1, but if he facilitates his bot lane, they're going to be in a great situation. The fact he managed to find a gank in mid as well, even better.
I think it's too late for anybody to contest this Ocean Drake, and I think at this point, Diabolus are going to just secede it, and they're going to give it over to Phelan, who had a really, really good push onto this dragon in the early game. The best that Monkeys can do is steal away a couple of camps from Soft, and I think, yeah, I think if you can clear that topside jungle, you've actually come out okay here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad of a situation.
It's only an Ocean Drake, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's strong in the early game, but it's not really going to change the dynamics of the scaling. That's something that potentially a Mountain Drake can spawn an earlier Baron kill, or an Infernal can change how long it takes for a team to outscale, but an Ocean all it really does is cement your early game. But as of now, Phelan still need to get things going with that mid-jungle, and I'm looking to see what Soft can do to make an impact on the map, because right now, at 0-0-0 at 7 minutes, it's not where you want your Jins out to be.
Looks like there's good vision control heading into this red side jungle for Soft. And he's heading over towards that red buff of Monkeys. Monkeys has just picked up the Fiendish Codex. So he is in a good position to start trading. Actually, probably has a significant more damage output, a significantly higher damage output than Soft right now. Is Haddo now going to be the target for Soft? The hook doesn't quite land. I think there was a slight spectator bug there as Soft teleported, and they're going to get a good idea as where he is. Soft actually jumps straight in here, forces the flash out to Yusa. That's a huge amount of damage onto Soft. And here comes Monkeys. He's got the Predator, he's got the ult, he's going to flash in potentially. Nope, the ult is enough.
And he just blows him away.
Yeah. That was pretty spicy.
And just the power of the counter ganking from this Gragas. Monkeys is consistent. Oh, we're seeing a fight in the mid lane as well.
Oh, Achu actually picked up Haddo there on the bottom side of the map. I think that must have been a stray Mystic shot.
I think it was a True Shot Barrage.
A True Shot Barrage, okay, so True Shot Barrage has just come off cooldown, so Haddo caught out of guard there. A little bit of a trade in the mid lane for Krogson and ADM, but unfortunately neither of them able to get the upper hand there. I do think that Krogson was forced to burn his cleanse onto ADM's ultimate though, which you can see has just been used.
Again, not too awful of a situation for Krogson. If you're doing okay in these trades early on, that's fine, because your Cassiopeia are going to scale really well. The issue is now that you're cleanseless, that could be a potential return gank. However, Soft, we said we want to see his impact. That is not the impact we wanted to see, having died there. And it was just good moves from Monkeys. He had good ward coverage to track where Soft was. And then the power for Predator is that you can come to any sort of counter gank from such a long distance because of the increased movement speed. Oh,
they get the pull onto Haddo here. Actually, Snugly jumps over. Not going to commit, though, as committing over the wall there with the Cassiopeia in tow might have been a little bit risky. But I like the aggressiveness from Snugly. Take a look at the CS values between Achu and Yusa in the bot lane too. It's actually Achu ahead, having backed on the Sheen, and now comes back with a Tear and a Cull too.
Yes, he actually managed to put himself in a good position this lane, because he stalled out his recall for long enough to get that Sheen, and then used his TP to get back in lane. So I was a bit concerned that he might be underpowered in it, but he's gone into a fine situation. Quite honestly, he's going to come into this mid game and be a strong champion. The issue is that they need to capitalize on that before the Cassiopeia and the Sion just become monsters in the late.
And that is the questions that are raised here for Phelan. Have they got the momentum to stop this scaling from Diabolus? Because right now, Diabolus are in the lead. I mean, it's 1,300 gold in favor of Diabolus, and that probably comes down mostly to the kills. A little bit of CS discrepancy in the mid lane, and a little bit of CS discrepancy in the top lane too. But right now, it is Diabolus who is kind of in control of this game, and it really should be Phelan who are the ones starting to make the moves as they threaten a gank with Snugly just to keep Yusa and Haddo away from that lane.
Yeah, just trying to use that Lantern for a bit of a bait. But right now, again, Soft still hasn't done a massive amount. I want to see what they can do mid, particularly Krogson. His cleanse is on cooldown. You have the Frozen Tomb from the Lissandra. I want to see them make a play mid. Because if you lock that Cassiopeia down, she will die fairly quickly.
Yeah, she's not got cleanse either at the moment. And like you said, it's a very easy engage path. If you just pop your E, get on top of Cassiopeia, pop the Frozen Throne, you've got a lot of... Frozen Tomb, rather, you've got a lot of damage coming out from Soft, even before he's finished his jungle item, before he's finished that warrior. The base damage from Xin Zhao is still really strong.
And the Red Smite always going to put a lot of damage into them. If you get those auto attacks with, you know, as Halo Blades makes it quite easy to do.
Snugly has to just force the ultimate to be defensive here, and Yusa...
I mean, crucially, they burn flashes on both Achu and Snugly, so good moves from the Diabolus bot lane, and that is definitely a favorable trade. Only burning the Brawlmill and getting both those flashes out of them. Never going to complain about that. Yeah,
and Haddo still has his flash and ignite as ADM maybe just threatens an engage onto Krogson, who is being super aggressive in this lane, by the way, keeping a 10 CS lead as well.
But I think the big thing is that Monkeys has been spending so much time around mid lane. Like, he's put vision control in the area. He hasn't farmed his golems, you can see in the bottom of the map, for quite some time because he is so fearful of Krogson being caught without this cleanse. He's just always had to protect him. And now, crucially, the cleanse is available again. So that window we talked about is no longer there.
I really like this from Monkeys. He knows exactly where some of the weaknesses are in his composition, and he's just pathing his jungle to make up for it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. If you don't do very much as a Xin Zhao, you become quite useless later in the game. Whereas a Gragas is always going to provide a lot of CC, and frankly, with the AP build, quite a bit of damage. So by him just tracking Soft and preventing him from doing anything, he's always going to put his team in a good position.
Lots of vision control around this Dragon area right now. Hado's taking a little bit of damage as the Lantern comes in for Soft, but it's fairly telegraphed, and Snuggly can't make a flash hook play happen here. Although, here comes Eragon, he TP's down, Yusa goes aggressive, actually immediately gets sacrificed to the Wolves, and Phelan pick up the first kill.
Yes, so it was a good deep flank ward. That play did seem a bit overforced, but the reason being is Eragon had committed to the TP, so there was no way they could stop on that play. They do manage to get Yusa, but the issue is they give away a lot of tower damage up top to Kerberos, and the ward they're going to try and get in return is this Cloud Drake. Again, not the best one to pick up, but it's definitely going to help offer a late game win condition for Phelan. However, I don't think Diabolus can let this one go for free.
Croxon's very strong. Achu's forced to teleport in right now. Monkeys has got a lot of burst damage on his side too. I do think
ADM's on the flank though.
Oh, Hado actually gets caught out. He has to force that ultimate out too. Nothing really good happening, but ADM very, very, very low. Has to force to use the tomb on himself. Monkeys uses that stopwatch as they now move on to Achu. That's going to be a double kill for Krogson, and they're going to stop the Dragon in its tracks.
I think it was just an overcommit. They felt they had the numbers advantage, but crucially, Kerberos still had his TP available, and now by handing 2 kills over that Cassiopeia and giving over that Cloud Dragon, you're really killing your chances at competing in the late game.
I think it was very risky without Achu there to go for the Cloud Drake, because you know that you're facing an AP Gragas who's got a decent number of his sort of items finished, and a Cassiopeia who is ahead in levels and is great at zonal control. Now picks up her first item spike of the Archangel's staff, and a blasting one on top of that. Croxon is having a great game here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's as you said, it was just over-aggressive, and I think a big thing was either they should have backed off and just left it, or they should have completely committed. But the fact that Chu recalled and then TP'd back, I mean, I think he was making the right call because it was on low HP, but that means you lose so much damage on that Dragon. It's going to take a long time. Diabolus is going to get in position to contest, and they might have found Hado, though. Yeah,
I think Hado just a little bit over-aggressive. Cheeky moves onto Eragon will be punished, and Hado goes down for another kill for Phelan. In the meantime, though, Kerberos has found a decent wave filled up on the bottom side of the map here.
Yeah, so there's always some pros to it. Phelan have been making good moves around Eragon to try and make plays and punish the bot lane of Diabolus, and it's mostly been Hado who's sort of got caught out so far. There was that play on Yusa. That seemed a bit unavoidable, however, so I think Hado just needs to take a step back, be more cautious, and wait for Monkeys to back him up, or at bare minimum, wait till he has vision on the other team.
Yeah, I don't think Hado read that. I don't think Hado read that play particularly well there, but Kerberos and Krogson, they got enough pressure knowing that Soft was on the top side of the map to take this blue buff. A nice reset. I like the reset from...
Yeah, knocks it away, makes it a pain. And Krogson's actually burning so much mana trying to kill this. It's not going to work.
Oh, it's so, so close. Top side of the map, we have another engage. It's going to be a shutdown going on to Monkeys here. And again, all this pressure on the top side of the map for Phelan has to result in at least this turret, and they might even be able to then capitalize and go for the Rift Herald too.
It's later than I would like to see it, but this is what I wanted from the Lissandra and the Xin Zhao. So much engage potential and so much base damage. They find Monkeys and they manage to shut them down and capitalize on that top tower. So a good position and Phelan finally finding their feet in this game.
Yeah, now they're going to go for the Rift Herald, which is one of the remedies to a slow early game. If you've been struggling as an early game composition that wants to try and dominate the mid game, Rift Herald can be a remedy for that. It can just open up the map somewhere.
Crucially, I don't think Diabolus is going to give this one over for free either.
No, Croxon going in. That's a massive engage. They get Soft. He's so, so low. Croxon has to get into the ring to get the damage done as ADM forced to back out. They have given up position onto this Rift Herald right now. The pull comes through onto Snuggly. Can Achu make anything happen? The Ignite will tick down. That'll be a kill for Hado. And then, crucially, as you said, they have stopped the Rift Herald.
Yeah, ADM did manage to TP out, if you're wondering where he went.
He did cheeky TP.
But still, not the best situation. They lose 2 members, give another kill to Diabolus, and they will quickly move onto that Rift Herald. I think, again, Phelan overestimate their strength, underestimate Diabolus' willingness to contest, and they end up giving over another objective and a handful of kills, which is not what you want to be doing at this point.
I think this might be one of the most crucial moments in the game. Because until this point, it was fairly even, and Phelan were making moves. But that Rift Herald would have opened up the mid lane. That would have opened up a massive area of the map that would have allowed them to push aggressively into blue and red side jungle from Diabolus, get some vision down, start to make picks, crucially, with a Thresh and Lissandra start to make picks. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the case, or at least not as easy to do now.
And the thing is, not only that, but now Phelan are going to be on the complete defensive, because it's very difficult to play against a team with Rift Herald, because you know it's going to come down at some point, you don't know where, and you want to make sure there's a response, because the difference between a team being ready for a Rift Herald is it gets a charge and you kill it. It potentially doesn't even get a tower. But if you're not in the lane where they attack, you can potentially take 2 towers, which is such a huge hit at this point in the game. So it does put Phelan in a bit of an awkward position for those next few minutes. And we're going to be watching Monkeys to see where he does make that impact.
Another pickup of Riot Eyes, which is actually pretty huge for Krogson, gives him great zone control in teamfights, makes Miasma that much more annoying as well if you're stuck in it.
And then crucially, once you start firing those Twin Fangs, the slow means it's so much easier to land your Q. And once you have the poison application, it's just so hard to escape from the Cassiopeia. And she out DPS's anyone on Phelan. Just outright, especially when she has a cleanse to remove the CC and that shield from the Ceres. There's no way anyone can duel her unless they have assistance. Yeah,
Krogson's really been the star of the show right now with the way he's contested. Pretty much solo contested these Drakes and the Rift Heralds with the backup of Monkeys. And in the meantime, Yusa has been quietly farming. He's picked up his Blade of the Ruin King spike, so he is not in a bad position himself. And we are actually at the point in the game where you feel like Phelan should be strongest as the pull comes through onto Kerberos. Not going to follow it up here. Here comes the TP. Does manage to go through just before the tower goes down, but you can't help but feel that's a little bit of a wasted TP unless they're going to capitalize and fight for this next dragon.
Yeah, Crucially did land some poke on a Krogson. That's actually quite big. Good move from Machu, and even more there. They might look for this.
Hado jumps back, still had the Unbreakable up. A lot of damage down onto key members of Diabolus right now, and that might give enough pressure for... Oh, what was that, Kerberos? Not exactly the place you wanted to be as he goes straight into the middle of the fight, get knocked away by Aragon, and I mean, nice Kerberos.
That was a bit of an oopsie daisy.
That was a little bit.
And we talked about how Sion is going to be a monster in the late game and super tanky. You're not at that point yet. 5 members will kill you fairly quickly, especially when you miss all of your CC. So, bit over-aggressive from Kerberos, and I think Phelan are just free to take this dragon now. The contest might come through, but I'm not sure how effective it will be.
It might be an attempted ult steal from Monkeys is the best case scenario for him. He's going to try and pop a little bit of damage. No, not even going to bother. Going to let that go over. It is only a mountain Drake. It's a pretty useful Drake, but...
I think the crucial thing is that you deny it from Diabolus, because a mountain Drake with a Cassiopeia is so threatening, especially when the next dragon is a mountain as well. If Diabolus gets 2 of those, you can essentially at any point threaten... oh, we're going to see engage bot lane.
Oh, that's he's just dead. Tried to get out with a claw. It was a nice bait in the bot lane from Yusa, Hado, and Monkeys. And they might even pick up this turret off the back of it. So that's a really worth little gank that they put down together.
Yeah, so making the best of a situation where Phelan felt they were in the advantage. But still, getting that mountain Drake can be crucial, because if you got 2 of them, I think Cassiopeia and... I guess the Sion could just duo the Baron at any point.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to read when they're going for that, because the rest of the team can posture aggressively. So it's good that Phelan denied that, but still losing members in the bot lane. And you can see already Krogson, look at that CS lead in mid. And this is on a Cassiopeia. This isn't a champion who's like, oh, of course he's going to come out ahead. This champion is going to be so strong in the late game and is already on that 950 gold bounty. I feel like in the next team fight, Phelan need to shut him down and get that money, or it's really going to start to look a bit dire.
Yep, and he has gone now working towards, well, maybe working towards Leandri's. He's got the Blasting Wand and the Ruby Crystal. I can see you making motions, Dan.
No, I just thought of something, but it's fine. Anyway, well, yeah, we can take stock of the game. We still don't have the Mirror Mana coming out from Machu. I think that's a crucial spike, where they can start to get some more power. I'd like to see when they get that, they look for a fight and just try and force really hard on Krogson. The crucial thing that makes it difficult, though, he has all his summoner spells.
Yeah, he has all his summoner spells, and he's finished his Archangels stacked up, which means he's going to have that extra shield to work with, too.
He's going to be a tanky boy.
Snuggly looking for it. Oh, he's punished. I think Snuggly's forced to flash back over the wall. Aragon trying his best. Nice ultimate from Monkeys, and that gives Yusa the kill. The teleport coming through from Kerberos, maybe a little bit overzealous, but that's going to turn and burn straight for Baron. Can Phelan contest this? I think they can. I think Diabolus do have to be careful here.
I mean, I think the difference between having the mountain here and not might actually change so much, because it does so much damage. They might just want to speed through this, but They are going to be contested by Phelan. Snuggly the only one down, but they're looking for the engage.
Soft does get knocked away as Braum jumps over the wall. That's a massive flash forward by Yusa, but Aragon is on the case. He's going to slow down, and that is going to stop him from getting onto the back line. However, it is going to be Krogson who picks up the kill just onto Soft, just off screen as you saw there. But unfortunately, maybe not enough to warrant going straight for the Baron, but they want to bait again at least.
Yeah, they want to look for more kills. I think it is risky to finish this because you're going to start taking a lot of poke from your team, and Lissandra is great in these situations, so I'm waiting to see where that core comes in.
Oh, here goes ADM straight into the middle, going to be forced to ult himself in just a moment. Does ult himself. Huge damage going down as the Chu picks up the first kill. The Baron is burning down. ADM uses that Zhonya's. This is a bad fight for both teams right now, but it is a double kill for Krogson, and the Baron is still so low. Kerberos is still there to tank. They just need to finish it off, and Achu is trying his best. But I think so close for Achu, but he backs out, and that is going to be the Baron going over to Diabolus.
You know, ADM made some mistakes at team fight, and it was frustrating to see because I really think Phelan could have taken that. I think he was a bit slow on using his self-ult, took a lot of damage in the initial, and not just that, but at the end when he flashed out, there was no way he was going to survive. If he flashed in, I 100% think he could have killed Yusa, and he could have killed Monkeys, and that would have completely stopped the Baron.
3,000 gold, the difference between ADM and Krogson in the mid lane right now.
That's a lot.
That is half, over half of the entire gold lead for Diabolus at this point in time.
And unfortunately, ADM is in a position where he can say, don't worry guys, I've got late game, because you don't really against the Cassiopeia.
Well, I think this goes back to those questions that we raised about the draft. You had a very limited set of win conditions for Phelan, and you had to win the laning phase. You didn't win bot as hard as you probably... Well, you shouldn't have won bot in the first place, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't really stomp that bot lane and come out ahead.
Ezreal has a gold advantage, but that's a given because in Ezreal he just gets free gold.
Yeah.
I think they did well to stop Yusuf and Hado from taking over, but we wanted to see Soft and ADM make things happen, and they just weren't able to.
Going to be pushing down the mid lane with this Baron buff now, and this is Diabolus in full flow, looking to get their place in the final of the UKLC this week, ready to take on the winner of Darkspawn and Fnatic Rising. As Diabolus push down this middle lane tier 2, I don't think there's anything that Phelan can do to defend this, even with that very tanky, fairly tanky Aragon in the front line, who has had a pretty solid game himself, but just hasn't really had the damage to support him in the middle of these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue, is that you don't have that much engage as a Poppy as well. So in these situations where they want to force, they're essentially looking for ADM to go for it, who's flashless at the moment, or for Snuggly to land a god tier hook, which is a big ask.
They can't even defend this siege, and Kerberos is going to pick up another tower in the bottom side of the map to further extend that gold lead. Diabolus just constantly harassing Phelan under turret right now as Kerberos pushes another beefy minion wave into that bottom side of the map. They are splitting Phelan, tearing them apart at the seams, and I just don't think Phelan have any of the stitches to answer.
Absolutely. I think the issue as well is that when we talking about that engage again, if you try against the Cassiopeia to send that core in as ADM, you 100% expect to see a miasma thrown down at the other end, and you're just going to die off the back end of it. I mean, not bad, because the Slander wasn't anywhere near engaging, but you get my point. Feel like they're in a hopeless situation to find an engage, and other than Snuggly landing a Miracle Hook, I feel like they are. You
just look at the damage that Kerberos is taking, and when I say that...
None.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Ezreal, one of the main damage dealers. As that is going to be hook in. They do use the ultimate onto Kerberos. He's a tanky boy. It doesn't look like the rest of Phelan or even Diabolus want to commit here, as there's a zoning ultimate coming out from Yusa. Aragon on the front line trying to commit. He has to be forced back, though, with that Braum Q. And Diabolus now maybe done enough damage to get the turret here. Hado, great unbreakables every single time, giving lots of space to the damage dealers from Diabolus. Overzealous maybe, a little bit overconfident as Krogson pushes in with Yusa. They're going to pick up Snuggly. They're going for the inhibitor now as well. And Diabolus come away. Despite losing Kerberos in the front line, they're going to get another inhibitor.
That was best case scenario for Phelan, and they still just couldn't find the team fight. The goal difference to scaling is way too different, way too big of a gap now. And Krogson is just untouchable. He's still full HP. Yes, he used a lot of mana, but he just seems completely unfazed by anyone of Phelan. No one has the damage to contest him and take him down, and until they do, this Diabolus squad is going to look invincible.
Going to get that Mountain Drake, and I mean, we might wait for next Baron. We might not even need next Baron, as they have just one lane left to push through the top side of the map. And even if we went to a full-on turret dive scenario, we are in the situation where Leandris has been finished, Void Staff is on its way for Krogson. That is going to be a stopwatch picked up for Yusa as well as the Black Cleaver, giving him plenty of survivability in these team fights. And like we pointed out right at the start of the game, there is no damage for Phelan past a certain point in that game. And I said, if they don't get that first Baron, if they haven't won the mid game in that first Baron, they use that to snowball, I think they're done, and I think that's kind of been proven this game.
Yeah, we've got to look for some sort of a miracle flank where they just all manage to get on top of Krogson at the same time. That is my hope. Because as of now, he still doesn't have a stopwatch, still doesn't have a Zhonya's. So if you find the right opportunity, you can burst him with raw damage. It's not going to be easy, but you can. And the thing is, Yusa's actually gotten kind of a bit starved by farm. They've committed all of it to the Cassiopeia, and actually more gone to Kerberos than Yusa himself. So he's actually quite weak in terms of the general standing at this point. If they take out the Cassiopeia, I think they could have the potential to clean up a team fight, but it's a big if.
Yeah, Yusa really isn't dealing the damage the rest of his team is in terms of the same level. It is all about
in terms of the Snake Lady.
Yeah, in terms of the Snake Lady, it is all about the Krogson show right now. But I mean, even Monkus has got a significant damage output. I mean, he's gone for the Zhonya's, he's picked up the penetration boots, sitting on an Orb of Oblivion too. You can't disrespect the damage that Monkus is doing either.
Absolutely crucial, and that makes it so hard to play, because if a Chu gets caught by that explosive cask, you're going to be at such a low amount of HP, you just won't really be able to teamfight beyond that.
They're going to push in. That's a flash in by Aragon. He's going straight for the engage. Immediately knocked up by the Braum ultimate, and he is taken so low. No one from Phelan is committing. Right at the end, we get Soft doing that as the ADM ults himself. ADM has ulted himself, and Krogson is still untouched. That is a huge amount of damage coming out from Krogson as Yusa and Kerberos managed to get onto the front line and do a bit of cleanup duty. But I just think that was so disjointed from Phelan, and they're not going to let this go. Monkus and the rest of the gang, they're going for the win. Oh, the engage, Monkus goes in, a Chu taken so low, in goes Krogson, Yusa on a rampage, looking to get the final blows onto Phelan, as Aragon on the front line is now left by himself.
He's not even going to get Monkus.
Oh no, Aragon and Krogson cleans him up. What a monster Krogson was this game on Cassiopeia, and that is Diabolus, 28 minutes. They put Phelan into the dust.
I mean, considering the composition Diabolus had, that's a fairly fast win. They had the skilling advantage, but it didn't even feel like they needed it. They got such a big lead in this Cassiopeia. She hit late game way too early.
Yeah, that was, again, I think we raised questions from the get-go about the drafting and the compositions that we saw between Diabolus and Phelan. You know, I think the ordering of the draft from Phelan didn't make as much sense. I couldn't see an incredibly clear win condition apart from what you highlighted, but it had to be Soft and ADM popping off. And I don't even think I saw Soft gank mid once.
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating for me as well, because yesterday I praised Phelan's draft in particular.
Well, let's separate them, right? That was an incredible draft from Phelan yesterday.
And I think it's not always going to be the same draft. But I think that's what frustrates me the most. It's not like, you know, if someone consistently has bad drafts, like, you know, fair enough, they're just not that good at drafting, or maybe they struggle to draft on their team. But the fact that it was so good yesterday and seemed to show so much initiative, and then today it seemed to lack that spark, it frustrated me.
Well, I don't think it will come to any surprise who the MVP was for this game. It was Yusa. No, it was actually Krogson, 14 KDA on that Cassiopeia. He was a really big performer, single-handedly contested the Drake, single-handedly contested the Rift Herald with the backup of his team, obviously, but he was the instigator of those defenses, and then untouched throughout the rest of the game, snowballed crazily out of control over ADM. Just incredible play from Krogson today. And
I think in this meta, it's moved a bit away from control mages in some areas. You know, when we had the Akali, when we had the Aatrox, and I think people underestimate Krogson a bit for this. But now we're getting to see more mages, particularly the Cassiopeia. Krogson is a monster on these champions. And I think there might have been a bit of disrespect from Phelan not to ban that Cassiopeia away, because a lot of teams have been cutting that one out. And they clearly thought they could leave it open.
Yeah, I mean, we showed the power of Cassiopeia here with Diabolus versus Phelan, and that does mean Diabolus will be in our final, the third game of the day, where they will take on the winner of our next game, which will be Darkspawn taking on Fnatic Rising. So, what do we think coming into this next game? Fnatic Rising versus Darkspawn. I wouldn't be putting myself too much out there saying Fnatic are likely going to be the clear favorites.
I think they're definitely the favorites, but I think Darkspawn are a roster that show they will never give up. Yes. And I know that's an easy thing to say, like, oh, no team's going to give up, but they were in such a difficult position against Barrage, and they persevered, and they found a way back in the game. Sure. So I think if anyone's going to challenge one of these big teams, Darkspawn are definitely one of the rosters to do it.
Right. Don't go anywhere, because in roughly 5 minutes and 30 seconds. We'll be back with Fnatic Rising taking on Darkspawn, our second semi-final of the UKLC. See you soon.
Eating rotten apples, dirty bass that be coming at you. Roller coasters like a supernova around the ring master. This my tabernacle.